Ricky Boudoin of Ordes Electric will be joining us today to show us the automation process he uses for his electrical bidding. Now, Brian Hoffelder of Vision InfoSoft will provide us a demonstration of On-Screen Takeoff and Electrical Bid Manager. A quick reminder that if you have questions, please type them into the question box, and we'll address the questions both at the end of the customer presentation as well as the demo. Now, thanks and welcome to the webinar today. I'm Angelo Caselli, Vice President of On Center Software and host of today's webinar. I'd like to welcome Ricky Boudoin, who's a 7-year veteran of Ordes Electrical. Ricky, first of all, we want to thank you for your service to our country. You had an early start in electrical business helping your father in his business. And after your military service, you decided to get back to the business and join Ordes. So let's get started with some questions for Ricky. Ricky, could you please tell us a little bit about your background and something about Ordes Electrical?
Sure. First of all, good morning, everyone. That is in fact correct. I've been with Ordes Electric about 7 years. Just to give you a little history about our company, we've been in business for, actually this month makes 30 years that we have been in business here in the New Orleans area. The business was started by actually my uncle, Alvin Ordes, and he started way back when in the 80s, started his own business, and it's just grown from there. His children have now taken it over, and I've been off and on with them. When I was younger, you know, my dad had a construction company, and I worked with them, and we range usually medium to large size projects, ranging from anywhere from 200,000 to 6-7 million. That's about the market we try to stay in. We do industrial, commercial, a little bit of residential, not too much of that, but mainly commercial is our niche. That's the market we try to play in. I actually worked in the field for 5 or 6 years, and then after Hurricane Katrina, had the opportunity to start learning how to estimate and project manage, and been doing that ever since.
Great, Ricky. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the overview. You know, when you first began talking with Vision InfoSoft about the webinar, you know, I know you had several great projects under construction. So which project will you be sharing with us today that encompasses the automation from Vision InfoSoft?
The project I chose to talk about today is a pizza restaurant it's a franchise called the Mellow Mushroom that we're doing in the New Orleans area.
Very good, very good. Will you describe the project for us in terms of the length of the project, scope of work, size of work, etc.?
Yeah, it's actually a smaller size project. It's in the 200,000 electrical range. The project is actually ongoing right now. We have a completion date of December 7th. It's a very fast-paced project. The owner's trying to get it ready for Mardi Gras and Super Bowl, which we have both coming up beginning of next year. The owner's actually continuing clients of Ordes Electric. We've used, you know, we've done some work with them in the past, so they know we can get the work done. So we're over there right now trying to get it done. We're actually doing very well. We actually turned power on yesterday, and you know, we're moving right along with the project.
Great. How long was the length of the project so far in order to build?
So far, we've been there, I think this is our fifth week on the project, and we have about 3 weeks left to complete it.
Okay, great. For that project, what type of work were you bidding on the project?
We bid all the electrical work on this one. We didn't have no special systems or anything like that. We just did electrical, the lighting, the gear, just the main electrical components for the job. That's all we have for this one.
Okay, okay. Well, it sounds like a great project. Would you like to talk a bit about the pre-bid process, including, you know, performing the takeoff and the estimating?
Sure. It actually went through many phases. The owner made tons of changes through it, but they actually came out with several revisions of drawings on it, which the OST made it very easy to do that because you can, you know, change your drawings up very easily, post them and overlay them and see what changes they've made. We actually originally, the specifications called for the job to be in all conduit and wiring, and we did a little value engineering for the owner. We changed some types of light fixtures to make it a little cheaper. We changed all the wiring from conduit to MC cable, try to cheapen that up for them a little bit. So there was probably a good 2-week process that we went through, revisions on the estimate and changing stuff up for them to make it, you know, more feasible for the owner.
Very good. In that workflow, what was it exactly that you felt helped you win that job or helped separate you from the competition?
The main thing is the accuracy of the estimate. You know, once you start using the OST, you get comfortable with it. Once you get your scales, you know, you get comfortable with posting your drawings and you get your scales right and everything. It really helps your feeder lengths mainly to really get accurate measurements of your feeder lengths and everything. It really helps you be more confident, and you know, you're really plugging good numbers in for your bid.
Great, great. No, it's great to hear. So with this project itself, as far as the time frame, if we're looking at that, what we want to know is, you know, it's obviously, I believe it was about a 4,500 square foot project, correct?
Correct, that's correct. Yeah, it's about a 4,500 square foot build out is actually what it is.
So in that project itself, though, what was the, and it's a little bit of an elaboration on what we just talked about, but what role would you say the automation or digital takeoff played in winning the bid?
The digital takeoff plays every role in getting the bid for us. Mainly, you know, you get really accurate counts of devices, lighting, you know, every component of the job, you know, is all done with the on-screen takeoff, you know, especially with being very accurate with your counts and stuff like that. The accuracy of the scales and everything for your feeder lengths and stuff like that, that's very critical. The efficiency of being able to, you know, post your drawings, you know, not have to worry about going get, you know, an addendum comes out and you got to go worry about getting another set printed, or, you know, you can just post them right with your existing drawings and overlay them and look at the differences and stuff. That all plays very key roles. And also the ability to go back and, you know, make changes very quickly. You know, if the owner, you know, says, oh, I want to delete, you know, 15 fixtures, it's just a matter of going into the on-screen takeoff and removing them fixtures out of your takeoff and import it into your estimating software and be able to take it out at the drop of a hat. You know, it makes it very easily. It really saves you a lot of steps.
No, that's great. I mean, it sounds like it was able to help you improve your accuracy, again, lower your costs in those paper plans, and it sounds like you were able to gain a greater communication effort with the owner of the GC to reduce your risk on that. So it's very good. How has that automation changed the way you run your business today?
It really changes a lot for us. It really gives us the ability to really track the jobs a whole lot better. You know, you can take what you've done on the plans, takeoff-wise, and implement it into the field. You know, it gives you better communication between the office and the field. You know, what you have planned for this, you know, how you planned on routing these feeders and how you planned on, you know, how you planned on installing your brand circuits and bringing home runs to this point, because you have it all mapped out on your on the on-screen takeoff already. So it really makes it a lot more time efficient between between estimating and actually getting the job started. You know, it's not going back and trying to remember what you did here and trying to remember what you did there. You actually have a document, a saved document of this is exactly what I planned on doing for this bid.
Now, you mentioned it helped improve your efficiency. In what way are you seeing those improvements?
Actually, time. The time it takes to do a takeoff. I just finished up a big bid last week for a school. I think it was well, actually, I'm bidding one tomorrow. It's 230,000 square feet. That's something that normally would have took me a good 2 to 3 weeks by hand, rolling everything off, counting everything by hand, going through all your sheets. I literally took it off in a week and a half. So it really cut my time in half, using the OST.
No, that's great. So obviously it's going to help you gain the ability to bid more projects than it sounds like, which obviously will have an effect on your bottom line.
Yes. Once you really get quick at it, you can really knock some sheets out really, really quick once you really get quick at it.
No, that's great. Now, in regard to this project, what would you do differently if you were to do this project again?
The one thing I would probably do differently is definitely have more meetings with the owners about all the changes that they wanted to make up front, which really would have saved us a lot of time. And it really would have saved us a lot of time in getting the estimate out and getting it more accurate for them the first time, because we really had a lot of revisions on this project. And we have an owner that's pretty picky and also wants to save money at the same time. So they made a lot of changes. It would have been a lot better if we could have gotten a lot of that stuff solved up front, and it would have made everything go a lot quicker.
Sure, understandable. It sounds like what you were talking about earlier is that the overlay feature and on-screen takeoff helped stream that communication a little bit because of the changes, which was, allow you to identify those immediately, which is good.
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah, but we actually had conference calls with the owner because one of the owners lives out of state. So, we literally overlaid the drawings while we was on a conference call and discussed the changes that they were making. And, you had one owner talking to the other owner because they're partners, and they were actually disagreeing while we were on the phone. And, we was trying to make suggestions to them, too. So the overlay feature really came into play, trying
Great.
to...
No, that's great. Yeah, no, it's great to hear. So, thanks, Ricky. I want to thank you, for taking the time to talk with us today. Now, I do have one final question for you. What project's next on the horizon for you?
I'm actually bidding a very large project tomorrow. It's a big school. It's 233,000 square feet, and we have a little over 2 years to complete the job. It actually bids tomorrow, so it's a pretty big project. I'm looking forward to it. I hope we're successful on it.
No, that's great. I hope you are too. Sounds like you have a real good plan in place. So, Ricky, we have a few questions from the audience that I want to kind of pose to you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Question one, which pieces of automation do you own from Vision InfoSoft?
We have the EBM Pro 3000 that we use, and we have that linked up with the On-Screen Takeoff Pro.
Okay, great, great. Question number two, where do you get most of your business from?
Most of our business, we do a lot of public bid, and we also have a lot of private entities that we do fool with, a lot of continuing customers. We do works for banks, a lot of banks. We have a couple of high-rise buildings in downtown New Orleans we do work in. We're actually in a couple of oil refineries as well. We have one here right where we're located at called Valero. We're in there. The Domino Sugar Refinery, which is also in our area, we do work in there. So we have, we try to stay diversified, and a lot of it is reoccurring business. We try to maintain real good relationship with our clients and have reoccurring businesses with the clients we do have.
Okay, great, great. I have one last question. How many people that work for you use the software, and how do you train them?
Actually, I am one of the only people right now that do. I am training the owner's son right now, but when I was trained, Brian with EBM came down for, I believe it was 2 days, and helped me learn the system. It was relatively easy. By the second day, I really had a good grasp on it, and really felt comfortable with it by the time he left on the second day.
Great, great. Well, thanks again, Ricky. I appreciate your time. What we're going to do is we're going to move forward here, and I want to take the remaining time that we have today to see a demonstration of the solutions that Ordes Electrical uses. Now, Brian Hoffelder from Vision InfoSoft, he'll do the demonstration today. Brian, I'm going to turn over the controls to you here, and we'll go ahead and allow you to start your presentation.
All right. Can you hear me, Angelo? Am I all ready to go?
Yes, I can, Brian. You're great.
Okay. This is the job setup screen in the Electrical Bid Manager program that Ricky was talking about. It's pretty basic. You just enter a job name, just basic job information. From here, we export the job that we're going to be bidding to the On-Screen Takeoff program. We have a little icon here that lets you export a portion or even in all of your database to the On-Screen Takeoff program. Now, I've selected the categories with the assemblies and the items that I use the most often, and I've already done this export process just for the purpose of the demonstration, so you don't have to sit there and watch it. It takes no longer than usually about a minute. So once you've exported it, with this little export button down here, we can go back into the, I'm going to toggle back into the OST program down here at the bottom, and you'll see that I've already got a floor plan up here ready to do some takeoff on. So I want to show you basically 3 different operations today. I want to show you the basic manual counting process where you electronically count with your mouse just by clicking on the items. I'll also show you how to measure, how to do a home run like Ricky was talking about, and I'll also give you a little demonstration of the auto count feature. So I'm going to start by counting some receptacles here. And I think I'll even just zoom in a little bit further so you can see just a little bit better view of the drawing. So over here I have a folder called Receptacles, Flush, and Wood or Metal Stud. I'm going to go to Duplex. And then I can pick any of these assemblies. You can see they all have different color associations or color codes with them. I'm going to pick this 20 amp duplex with a spec that is a spec grade receptacle with a plastic plate. And then to count, I just click with my mouse. And you'll see it makes a mark on it, just, you know, similar how it would with a highlighter if you were counting manually. So I'll just click through a few of these. And then you can just continue on to the rest of the drawing. Now, you don't have to finish counting all the receptacles at any point. You can come back later and count the rest of them. You can move to a different item or a different assembly at any point. Now, the count so far is down here, it's 21. I'm going to count a different item next. I'm going to go to the GFI receptacles. Down here is a 20 amp spec grade with a plastic plate. I see one here. I can move over and down the drawing with this little black window called the pan window. There's another one down here. I'll close that folder and I'll just do one more count. I think the concept is pretty straightforward here. I'm going to go to the quad folder. And there's a 20 amp spec grade and a plastic plate. That's this little symbol with the cross hatches here. And again, I'll just move. Okay, now at any point that I want to take what I've done so far back into the estimating program, into Electrical Bid Manager, I just click down at the bottom where it says EBM, and I go to the import window. So everything I've taken off so far is going to come into this little window. It even puts in the page number here, so if that page number E301 is already categorized on the takeoff. And then I see my assemblies here. Here's the counts. These are just the assembly numbers. Now this box is not checked because they haven't actually been entered into the takeoff yet. So I'm ready to go ahead and do that. I just highlighted all 3 lines. I'm going to hit F2 takeoff at the bottom, and it's going to put those into my estimate. Now those are assemblies. Those assemblies generate all the materials for each of those outlets, a box, a plate, a receptacle, a plaster ring, and even all the screws and pigtails. On my audit trail, I can always look at that entry or those entries. So there's the 3 entries I've made so far with all the parts that go with them. So to continue my takeoff here, I'm going to go back to On-Screen Takeoff. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. This is the zoom out button. And let's talk next about doing a measurement. And I'll zoom in just a little more here. Down in the right part of this particular screen that I'm looking at right now is a 60 amp fusible disconnect for an air handler unit, and it feeds back to panel PP2 at the top right. So I'm going to measure that home run. So I'm going to come down here to the category with the assemblies for the EMT takeoff. And that first one here is 1-inch EMT with 3 6s and a 10. So to measure, all we do is click on the start point, drag the mouse straight up, and at the point I'm going to turn over to the right, I let up on the mouse and drag it over to the right. Now at that ending point, I can add a length here, because I might have to drop down from the ceiling to that panel. I'll just put in 10 feet. Now notice over here my distance is set to 49, or my length is already measured at 49 feet. When I add that 10 feet, it bumps it up to 59 feet. When I go back into the on-screen takeoff, to Electrical Bid Manager, I'm going to refresh my import window, and there's the next entry. Now this one I'm going to review the final entry before I finish it, because I might want to add some additional fittings or elbows to this entry. So when I double click on this line, it takes me into the branch circuit takeoff screen, but it fills everything in for me. Up at the top here you'll see 1-inch EMT, 3 number 6 wires, 1 number 10 ground, and there's the length. I'm just going to add some elbows here. I'm going to change the support. There's my beam clamp with the conduit hanger. And everything else is ready to go. I'm just going to hit F2 takeoff. This is makeup wire. Takes me back to the spreadsheet so I can see that that line has been entered. That's what the check mark means. And then I can just proceed with my takeoff. Now just one little shortcut that I find really handy in the on-screen takeoff. I think you probably will use this on every job. If I want to count some more duplex receptacles, I don't have to go find them again. This little button called the select button allows me to select something I want to continue counting. And so now I just click on some more receptacles. It's going to update my count. I'll move back down here, and you can see how you can just continue with the takeoff. Now, at this point, I'm up to 31. When I go back to EBM and hit refresh, there's the 10 more receptacles I counted. I'm just going to hit F2 takeoff, and it combines the quantity up here. And just one more quick thing before we go to the auto count feature. If I go back to the full page here, I can see everything I've done so far. I can also, and this is something that Ricky referred to as that will help you when you're actually doing the work in the field. It's called the image legend. That little button puts a legend up here at the top, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So when I print this out, it'll not only print out with all my markings, all the colors, it'll give me a complete takeoff here on what I've measured and counted on that page. Like Ricky said, you can see see how I routed the home run for the air conditioning and the air handler unit. You can see all the receptacles have been counted. Okay, so I'm going to move to the other drawing here to do some auto count on the lighting. And I'll just give you one quick example here. We've got a category. These are assemblies that are standard in the program. This is the way it comes off the shelf. I'm looking for this recessed compact fluorescent downlight. When I double click on that condition or that assembly from EBM, I could put the fixture type. If that's fixture A, I just put it in the notes here. I can also change the color. I want to use something a little bit brighter. Let's go to a nice color like that. Now to auto count, I'm going to zoom in. This is the fixture I want to count, this little round one here. The auto count tool has a little icon here, or we can simply go to tools and select auto count. And then what I'm going to do is just draw a little box around the symbol that I want it to look for on the drawing. I'm going to hit search. So it's going through that whole page. And then it's going to give me the results that it found here. It counted 54 fixtures. I can scroll through that just to see if it counted anything that it shouldn't have. When I hit accept count, I can then go back to the full page and review my takeoff. Now when that goes back to EBM, to the spreadsheet here, I hit refresh. Again, I can double click on that item and it brings me to the fixture takeoff and it fills in as much as it can. So I'm going to put a lamp in here. And I'm going to add a fixture whip. And then there's the quantity, 54, and hit takeoff. So this spreadsheet is basically your entire takeoff that's come from the electronic drawings. You can measure, you can count, and you can even do auto count. So that completes my part of the presentation. Angelo, did you want to see what kind of questions we have?
Yes, Brian, thanks for the great demo. We do have some questions coming in. While we're fielding those questions, the ones that we're going to cover, we have a quick poll for the users to review. Okay, great. So, Brian, we have a few questions that have come in that I'm going to go ahead and review with you.
Okay.
Question number one, do you have to use pre-made assemblies for feeder and branch takeoffs?
No, you don't, actually. You can create the feeder assemblies in the Electrical Bid Manager program prior to doing the takeoff. So you can go into the setup of the feeder just like you would if you were doing it manually, create the feeder, and then do the takeoff and on-screen takeoff, and then bring it back. It'll link it to the field called the designation in the feeder takeoff. Just real quickly, this little field here will link it back to the takeoff. So if I assign that feeder a designation like P1, it'll link it back for me.
Okay. Hey, Brian, just so you know, we're focused back on my screen. So
okay.
We don't have on yours.
All right. Sorry.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, we could schedule those procedures as far as demos after the demonstration. But the so did you have to elaborate any more? Are you done with that question?
Yeah, I was done. I just wanted to basically.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question we have, question number 2. How do you differentiate between fixture symbols when an architect uses the same symbol multiple times, i.e., several types of 2x4 lands?
Most of the time, if they do use exactly the same symbol, then you can't use the auto count feature. You just have to count manually. Now, what you can do sometimes, if just a few fixtures are in a certain part of the building, you can let it do the auto count and then delete those. But for the most part, if they use the same symbol, it's better just to do the manual counting like I did with the receptacles.
Okay, very good. Another question is kind of in relation to that one is, what about symbols that are incomplete or non-consistent on the auto count?
The auto count has an option to clean up the symbol. So when you do when you draw the box around the symbol that you want it to count, there's a couple tools that let you erase things that you don't want it to be looking for, and you can also increase or decrease the sensitivity, which will help in the case where the symbols aren't maybe real clean on the drawings or real consistent.
Okay, great. The next question we have is, what if you have two similar fixtures with different designations? Can you note one A and the other B?
You can. Again, that won't help you with the auto count feature if the symbol is the same, but it will definitely, in the takeoff process, you can You can have as many different designations as you need to.
Okay, great. A question came in, and they're asking that, how does this version of Electrical Bid Manager differ from what they have? And that was posed by Brett Martin.
Not sure exactly how to answer the question. I would have to know what version they have, but basically the interface with the on-screen takeoff was added a couple of years ago. So anyone who has the Plus version or the Pro version can incorporate that integration. It's not included in our baseline, what we now call the standard version, but it's included in the middle and the upper end programs, the Plus and the Pro.
Okay, great. We have a couple more questions, and then we'll kind of wrap it up because I think we're running out of time here. But the next question I have is, how does it distinguish between different troughers?
Again, it would depend on the symbol itself. So if the architect or the engineer uses different symbols for different fixtures, different troughers, that's how you would use the auto count. Again, it's never really a bad option to just fall back and use the manual counting. It's still better, more efficient than marking the drawings with a highlighter or a pencil and then having to manually total things up and put them into the program. It's all done automatically once you've clicked on each fixture.
Okay, great. I guess I was a little bit incorrect on our time. We have a little bit more time. We have a few more questions we could cover. So the next one was, how do you set the drawing scale in the on-screen takeoff?
There's two ways to do it. There's actually a drop-down menu. We can select from all the standard architectural and engineering scales. The other way is to actually check the scale. You can actually take a known dimension on the drawings. If there's a dimension on the drawing, or you can use a 3-foot door opening, or with lighting you can use a 4-foot light, and then you can check the scale. If it's not correct, there's a procedure to actually fix or revise the scale.
Okay, great. And then another question we have here is that, can you make notes on the plans?
Absolutely. That's another nice little feature. You can make notes. It can be different colors. You can put the note in the proper place in the drawing and have nice little notes in the drawings. There's also maybe a similar feature that I use quite a bit. It's the highlight feature. So if I just want to highlight something on the drawing that I've made it and then put a note on it, I can do both.
Very good, very good. Okay, the last question we have is, are 2 monitors a good idea, and what size would you recommend?
2 monitors are absolutely the best way to go with this. It's workable on a 1-monitor system, but it's really designed for 2 monitors, where you have one screen with Electrical Bid Manager and the other with the on-screen takeoff. Typically, we see probably a 24 inches a minimum size. It's not necessarily bigger is better. Resolution's more critical, but I would say probably 24 inch would be a minimum size. Up to 32 or 40 inches is fine. You don't need a theater size screen to do this, but the size is helpful, and the 2 monitors is very helpful.
Great answers, Brian. I really appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and wrap up, Brian, and I really appreciate, again, great demonstration. If we didn't get to your questions, or a few that we didn't get to, we'll respond personally to those after the webinar, and we want to thank you again. We want to thank Brian, Vision InfoSoft, and Ricky Boudoin as well from Ordes Electrical for taking time to present today. Thank you very much.